think more moderation, I guess, if I was looking at that. Third inflammation partner is going to be free radical damage. When we talk about free radical damage, what am I talking about? I'm talking about a lack of something, really, right? And I'm talking a lack of antioxidants, and I'm going to put out some good ones out there. And of course, you are very aware of them. And NSP Canada has some of the best out there in the world, ranks high in the world with this, highest in the world, I should say, in free radical fighters. But on the other hand, does our thinking have anything to do with producing more free radical damage? So again, we could tie inflammation and free radical damage together if we looked at that. And then lastly, my little blue guy here, he really represents invaders. So I was having a little bit of fun of that because invaders can be everything from viral to bacterial to fungal, if we were to look at that, and then they begin to marry each other, and man, what a mess we can have with inflammation when that happens. So we're obviously going to want to do things to keep our gut, if I was to say, more pH balanced, not to let them in the first place. And then I want to have a lot of the good guys on my side, right? Good guys to keep the little invaders from coming in, because he's not nearly as friendly as the little guy I have on our picture here, right? He's very unfriendly, these invaders that come in, and guess what? They like to produce families, and they're quick at doing that, and when they produce families of these invaders, they spread all pervasive, all throughout the body, because they can literally cause, yes, you heard me right, they can cause the leaky gut, and then they get themselves a pathway into everything in your body, and boy, what a mess that can become as we look at that. So let's study these out a little bit more. Underlying causes of inflammation. Sugar is an inflammation partner. And, you know, you've heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again. We eat 1,000 times more sugar today than we did 100 years ago. So what is the real problem? You know, Dr. J talked about it at convention. No, sugar is not the devil. He's pretty close, but not the devil. No, but as we look at it, the problem is we overconsume it, and we don't seem to know what to do about it. But, you know, in all fairness, we're sabotaged. It's in everything. Try to go to your normal grocery store and buy prepackaged food. Okay, so there's your hint. Stay away from it as much as possible, right? The prepackaged stuff, because they put sugar in all of it. Why do they put sugar? Well, one, you're going to eat more. It's proven fact that once we get that sweet taste on our lips, what do you want? Guys, I'm no different than any of you. You go out and give me sugar, and boy, I immediately turn something on because it gives us a high like no other, and we're like, okay, I'll have more of that, and we want to overconsume it. So we eat 1,000 times more sugar than 100 years ago. And when you think about that, there is our problem. We overconsume it. Sugar isn't just about everything, especially processed foods, as we talked about it. Remove refined sugar out of the diet. That's my biggest recommendation. And those of you that have my book, Fat Girl Foods on a Healthy Budget, you know that we can remove it out of there and enjoy life to the utmost. So what am I saying? Can we make some of our favorite Fat Girl foods and make them on a healthier budget? It's not about finances per se. It's about health, right? So as we're looking at that, I have a recipe in there to make cheesecake and make it vegan, make it gluten-free, and make it naturally sweetened. Guys, what could be better? And those of you that have tried my raw cheesecake know that it's a hit out of the park. It has incredible secrets. Of course, if you are wanting my book right now, you can get it electronically. You can have it delivered 24 hours a day. You go to www.natureopath.net, and that's NatureOpath.net. So if you don't have it, have some fun with it. You know, there's lots of good things we can do with it. We can make fun desserts or fun muffins out of your protein. Take your smart meal and use that as the basis for one of your flours. Of course, you could throw some almond flour in there. You could throw some coconut flour in there if you wanted to, and we've even thrown black beans. Those of you that were on my tour saw us do it with black beans. And you can have your cake and eat it too. So that's, of course, one of the things that I like to do best. By the way, I do want to say that raw cheesecake can be left as a mousse or a cream. And so I use it as frostings or stuffings for different things. So just have fun with it. Remove that refined sugar out of the diet. Secondly, remember, too, that overeating can affect this as well. So what am I talking about? Do you know that healthy food, even fat girl foods on a healthy budget, my recipes, if they're overconsumed, can spike the blood sugar too, right? Overeating. Look at the statistics. There was studies done where they cut the food intake of rice and I always say that backwards. Mice and rats, right? There you go, Julie. They cut it by 1/3, and they had reduced diseases. So in other words, they took their plate, and they took off 1/3 of what was normally on their plate, and by doing that, these mice and rats had reduced diseases, like reduced occasions of diabetes and cancer and high blood pressure and heart disease, just by removing 1/3 of their food off of their plate on a regular basis. Well, I have to say, for me, that didn't work, because I was like, I don't know, 1/3 of what? That got a little too confusing to me. So I looked at some other studies, and they did studies around the world and found that people who ate less live longer. You heard me right. People who eat less live longer. Even eating less healthy food live longer. So what was that study based on? Eat until you're 80% full. And, you know, the problem is people don't even know what 80% full looks like, because they go out to these all-you-can-eat buffets and they're eating till they're 140% full and can hardly waddle out of the place, and it creates a problem and it spikes the blood sugar. You know how you feel. We've done it. We've all done it at one time or another, and we walk out of there crashed, and all we want to do is go to sleep. So you can see what it's doing to the body. Is that going to affect metabolism? You bet you. Is it going to, more importantly, to our topic tonight, is it going to affect inflammation? Yes, it is. Remember, eat less, live longer. So if you want to look at that, and you'll live a more productive life on top of that. Next cause here, underlying cause of inflammation, and acidic pH, is an inflammation partner. Alkalize the body by what? Lowering stress. How do you do that? Do you divorce your husband, leave your children, quit your job, quit driving in LA traffic? That's where I'm at right now. You know, yes, you could do some of that. I don't agree with most of that, because, you know, you're always going to find somebody difficult to be with, right? So why don't we start thinking different? Reprogram, I should say, the way we think. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, and whatsoever things are lovely, think on these kind of things, right? As we do it, more peaceful thoughts. We could talk about meditation, meditating on the right kind of things. Now, question to you is, do you do that on purpose or by accident? It's purposeful thinking, if you would put it that way. You have to think the right thoughts on purpose. It's too easy, guys, to get sucked into the wrong thoughts. I can do it myself. We've got to reprogram. Let's think on purpose. Let's reprogram those thoughts. Then secondly, let's avoid acidic foods. What are we talking about? Remember, we said the overconsumption of animal products. Keep that lower in your body, these acidic foods, right? As we're doing that, you know, smaller portions. And I understand there's a program that's just going crazy in Canada, and it's called Inform. You know, Be Fit, Burn Fat for Life type of a program. And guess what? They teach you to eat animal products in proper proportions. Good way to look at that is take your fist. And that's about how much animal product you need. And you don't, you know, you want about that much 4 times a day. But I say, better yet, why don't you move that over to vegetarian sources, right? Your NutriBurn and your Smart Meal are both vegetarian sources of good protein. Easy way to get it, and slim down while you're doing it. But remember, you're not just slimming down, you're living longer and lowering inflammation. So, you know, if you don't know about where to get into an Inform program, contact NSP Canada. I'm sure they can give you some names of where that program is being held, and you can find out more about that program. So be sure to contact them if you want even an expansion of what we're talking about here, right? So by doing this, we talked about, meditating on what's good. Remember, cleansing the body will remove acidicness as well, if we would say that, or acidity. So a good cleanse, because many acids are removed through the bowel. Another type of cleansing would be kidney cleansing. So get on some good kidney products as well to cleanse the kidneys. That would be a good thing to do. And then get on plenty of minerals. So we get minerals from foods that are high in phytonutrients. So we're talking vegetables and fruits. So let's get on, plenty of vegetables and fruits. But I'm going to give you some other sources of good minerals, even minerals that will light a light bulb if you were. If you had a mineral tester, you could literally light a light bulb on our minerals. That's how much spark are in them. So that really gets me excited about that. Another cause of inflammation we talked about is free radical damage, or what? A lack of antioxidants. It's an inflammation partner. So reduce free radical damage by avoiding, again, stressful thinking. How do you do that? You think on purpose. You meditate on the right kind of things and forget the rest of the garbage. Let's flush it. Along with our cleanse, let's flush our thinking, right? Let's flush it all out. Let's replace it with what is good. That's what we're talking about. So we're going to flush that, and we're going to replace with good antioxidants. Of course, we could talk about our foods. Are there good foods that we can eat? We all know about, berries, but I could virtually tell you all vegetables and fruits are going to contain some of those antioxidants, and some of them are going to be higher. And what happens when we combine them into an antioxidant-laden drink? And push that ORAC value way up. And what are we talking about? Oxygen radical absorption capacity. We're talking the ability to get a drink that is so high on the ORAC list that it stays in the body instead of being excreted through the urine as, with too much vitamin C, or through the bowel. It stays in there and repairs the cells, makes new cells. What are we talking about? Better looking skin. We're talking about repairing those cells and becoming less insulin resistant, right? We're talking about getting inflammation down in the brain, because this same drink that I'm going to give you here in a minute is going to be able to cut inflammation in the brain, because it can break the blood-brain barrier as you're thinking about it. Wow. So could that be preventative? Dr. Amen said it could be preventative with Alzheimer's. That gets me excited, because really, what is Alzheimer's related to? Inflammation in the brain. And according to Dr. J this past week, that starts with that inflammation in the gut, and via that vagus nerve takes it to inflammation within the brain. It sounds like I want to do something different on a regular basis with what I'm putting into my gut, because, guys, if there's one thing I want to have all the days of my life, is a brain that can be used and used for good, right? We've all seen some of the horrible effects of Alzheimer's and dementia. I want to take care of what God has given me and do the best that I can with that. And, of course, our last inflammation partner here was the invaders. These invaders cause inflammation. What am I really talking about here? I'm talking about this imbalance in the gut. What does it cause from? One, congestion. How do I remove congestion? Well, a good cleanse, right? We need a cleanse. Congestion, that means you're congested in the gut. You're backed up, and we need to move that forward. Lack of good intestinal flora, right? What are we talking about there? We're talking probiotics, good bacteria. These are all names that we could intersperse, right? We could be talking about a probiotic 11. That could be a good thing to put here. We want good intestinal flora, good bacteria, and, some common foods, that cause inflammation. We were talking about a lack of these things. What are some common foods that can cause inflammation? What kind of foods is Julie talking about? Well, because of the genetic modification, many of your gluten foods can cause inflammation. It could be wise, I'm going to show you, to remove them for a period of time and cut some of this inflammation, right? They're linking some other foods to inflammation. They're linking eggs, and I think part of that has to do with not being able to produce the bile because of the congestion, not being able to break down the fat of the egg, because I do think eggs are a good food, and I think the lecithin, so when you don't cook an egg hard and you leave the egg yolk soft, that lecithin can actually fight inflammation. But remember, you are what you eat, but what you can digest at the moment. So you may need to remove them just for a period of time to get the inflammation to go down. So we'll talk about that a little bit further, these foods that can cause inflammation. Add in these cleanses, though, for different invaders, and we're going to show how to kind of switch them out and add good bacteria to get this inflammation to go down. Time magazine, dated February 2004, stated that inflammation is linked, this is their words right out of Time magazine, it's linked to heart attacks, arthritis, cancer, Alzheimer's, and other diseases. Guys, we really see that it is a secret killer. You know, some of us have been fortunate enough to see inflammation, right? Some of you know my history back in 1993 where I was diagnosed with lupus, and how it caused me inflammation in my joints. It caused inflammation in my skin. So in other words, back then I had arthritis, I had dermatitis, rashes over my skin. I had nephritis. What does that mean? An inflammation in my kidneys causing blood to come out in my urine so much that my blood looked like cherry Coke. I had inflammation within my nervous system to where I was having nervous breakdowns. I had inflammation within my brain to where, guys, I don't know if you've ever heard my story. My husband came home one day. We had all 6 children. I was homeschooling and decided I needed to clean the house. And I went into the cupboard, and because of so much inflammation in my brain, I thought, these cupboards have got to be clean. Now, never mind that the whole rest of the house needed clean, but all I could see was that cupboard, and guess what? I zeroed in on one thing, and it was a waffle iron. This is a funny story, and I don't mind you sharing it. I cleaned a waffle iron immaculately for 8 hours. My husband came home, and he said, so what did you do today? Because obviously during that time, guys, I had inflammation, and it was all pervasive. And guys, as I go back and I look over what I teach today, I was off on many of those. And it wasn't that I didn't eat healthy, guys. I made my own granola. I made our own breads. I grew a garden. But guess what? I had overconsumed some of the wrong things, had put some of the wrong things into my diet, and I had invaders like crazy. I had worked on a chicken farm to help educate my oldest son to be somebody who'd want to work hard in his life, just trying to be that right kind of a mother. And I had gotten exposed personally to parasites, which actually with the combination of the other things, I got a yeast overgrowth, I got parasites, I ended up with leaky gut. I was a mess and a half. And just to show you that I had inflammation everywhere. And, I was a young woman at the time, so I just want you to really look at that. And, guys, I know it. I can give you another story relating to this. I was actually in Utah for some training for NSP, and I had went rollerblading the weekend before. It was Mother's Day, and went rollerblading with my family at the park. And while rollerblading, I got just slightly imbalanced and knew I was going to fall. And you have a split second to think. Everybody who's ever had an injury, you have a split second to think. And I thought, do you want to fall forward, knowing I was going out on a series of meetings? In other words, I was going to be in a different city each night. And I had all these cute skirts I was going to wear. And I didn't want to have bloody hands and bloody knees all week. So I opted to fall back. Well, I broke my tailbone. And it was 2 days later. I had to board a plane, head up to Utah for special training to go out for this week of training. And, you know, I did fine because guess what? I had already learned that sugar was an inflammation partner. So I didn't really consume sugar. You could go through the things in my home, and I was very careful to make sure if there was a sweetener that I used things like fruit juice, right? We might have used some honey and some maple syrup. I love stevias. Yeah, you know, we would use these types of sweeteners, so I didn't have it in my diet. And even using things like, you know, honey and maple syrup, it's lower on my list because I just think we don't need as much. Those are treats, right? So I went into Utah, and that night at the dinner, they served a dessert. And I thought back to Dr. Jensen and what he taught, that you could have, you know, sugar once in a while. It's not what you do some of the time. It's what you do the majority of the time. But I have to tell you guys, if you're fighting inflammation, now is not the time to make that exception. It ended up a very bad choice for me. I managed my pain fine till that point. I was able to get in and out of cars. I'm not telling you it was 100%, but I was managing my pain, you know, with nothing. I ate that sugar that night, and the next morning I could not put one foot in front of the other without spasms and literally throwing me into tears. It was that bad. They had to bring in a lawn chair. I could no longer sit upright, throw a blanket over me with all my cute business suits, and I laid there. But I'm going to tell you what, I thought, you know what, I know what this is. I ate no more sugar, and I literally am here to tell you by the next day I was managing pain with no problem. So, guys, I am a firm believer in this, so take this to heart. I don't care what your inflammatory situation is, you know, you're going to see some benefit with putting these things into practice. So, first thing, what do we say? Avoid sugar and overeating. So I've kind of given you a clear picture. You know, here's some things that all convert to sugar. But, you know, overeating can be just as bad. And we all know it doesn't go for our waistline anyway, or the appearance. And the clothes certainly don't fit as well when we do that either, right? As far as acidity, avoid negative thinking and acidic foods. Guys, remember, how do you do this? How do you avoid negative thinking? You do it on purpose. Think about that. So you've got to meditate on the right kind of things. I like to meditate on scripture. I like to meditate on the kind of things that people give me that are the right kind of thinking. Do I sometimes have to come in and say, Julie, you're getting a negative thought. Replace it. Absolutely, I do. But when you catch yourself there, let's go back and let's reprogram again, because we certainly can't afford to do that. And guys, I put a picture here of just a wide variety of vegetables and fruits. Focus on that. And, you know, I'm going to show you how I do that. I really do believe that the Inform program taught me some really good things. And, of course, I was called in to help create that, and that was where some of that was put in, because I learned years ago, even those of us that really know what we're doing, we really don't know to focus on vegetables and fruits. So I live my life like this every day, or at least on a regular basis. Sometimes when I'm traveling, I eat the meal replacement alone, but typically I throw 3 to 4 servings of these phytonutrients, you know, vegetables and fruits, into my serving of either, you know, it could be Love and Peace, it could be NutriBurn, it could be our Smart Meal. You know, I throw it into our meal replacements, and then I blend that up, and I drink that on a regular basis. And I guess, you know, the Nature's Harvest, what a wonderful one that I understand that you guys are going to be getting. So throw it in there. Drink 2 of those a day, and then just do well at getting vegetables and fruits with whatever you do. Nextly, you know, avoid stressful thinking and dead foods. You know, potato chips, that's something you would do on a rare occasion, guys, because it's really dead. You know, and try to get more live foods is what I'm going to say. You know, let's get away from prepackaged foods, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a challenge here at the end, but avoid stressful thinking. So let's try to focus on a different kind of thinking, and when you catch yourself there, let's reprogram that. But Yeah, do some of us need some help sometimes with our bodies? Absolutely. We could definitely use help with our stressful thinking, and there's many supplements that I'm going to show you that could be helpful with this.
Julie, sorry, can I interrupt real quick here?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So we're just going to take a 1-minute quick break here just so I can just give a few updates. Just wanted to make sure that everyone was well aware that the March recognition newsletter came out today. So that is currently up on the website. So if you want to check that out, we did send an email out to everybody. But if you haven't been able to check that out, definitely do that. We had a lot of fantastic recognition happening with all the great recognition programs that we have going on. And there's also a special going on right now from April 15th through the 19th, and that's the sale of 10% off or buy 3 get 1 free, and that's on the 4 products of Everflex with hyaluronic acid. I can't even say it, but you'll know what I mean. Histoblock, ALJ tablets, and ALJ extract. And again, that's on our Facebook page as well, and that was in our U&E. And those of you that are not on Facebook, I would love you to get on there. So it's NSB Canada Update and Educate, and we're constantly posting great material on there, so check it out. I do want to let you know that we are recording this, so it will be on the website probably by the end of the week, so just in case you did miss a few things, or if you want to send it the link to others as well. So just wanted to give you that information, so I'll turn it back to you, Julie.
Rhonda, thank you so much, because I actually heard that some of the things that I'm talking about are going to be on special. How cool is that? So yeah. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Hey, so back to this. So eat your phytonutrients, and look at what I have as your star player here. Zambrosia, wow. I mean, highest on the ORAC, third-party certified to be highest in antioxidants or ORAC value. Remember, keeping it into the cell and able to repair the cells. Guys, are you aware that you could replace every cell in your body within 7 years, and you can replace cells in your body every 28 days. You're actually replacing cells as well. So I want you to keep that in mind. And guys, how many of you need a little grace and mercy? You know, another chance at life. You know, maybe our skin needs done over again. This is a good way to do it. Get on this program. Cut some of that inflammation. Can you see inflammation in the skin? Absolutely. Get on these antioxidants. Do you need some more help cutting this inflammation? This, to me, is one of my favorite slides of all, because it reminds me, take these phytonutrients, put them into my smart meal. Get those shakes. And, you know, something that I've done, guys, is I've made the shakes at night. How many of you guys get too busy? I get busy, and maybe the next morning, you know, I get some calls, because we're busy with our business, right? We're out there hustling, trying to save the world, if you would put it. We get busy. Make the shakes the night before. Make a couple of these up. Just throw, you know, 2 handfuls of spinach and a handful of frozen pineapple, and, you know, some water and a couple scoops of your smart meal. Throw that in there. Throw it into the blender. Do that twice. So I do mine all at once in one big blender. Pour it into 2 of your shaker cups. Throw it in the fridge. Get it out in the morning and run out the door. Nothing could be easier. You know, take your shot of Zambrosia. My husband and I, this is kind of one of those special things that we do for each other. We pour each other shots of the Zambrosia in the morning and drink it before we, you know, run out the door, because it's one of those things just to say, you know what, if you love somebody, you're going to be giving them something like Zambrosia and making something like their shakes, right? Because why? Because you want to keep them around, okay? So more specific now, we've given a lot of inflammation partners, but now let's bring it down to some specifics. How about allergies? By the way, I do have a book out there that's available through Sound Concepts that talks a lot about this. It's called Loving Your Lungs. Remember, I have a talk show I did on the CD on there, and then I designed a questionnaire, and there's also a book talking about this. And ALJ stands for allergy lungs. But guys, it's so far above that, right? I would like to call it, you know, something respiratory, because, you know, it takes care of everything from, the sinus passages, down into the lungs. We could say it takes care of the bronchioles. As you're looking at it, it is so much into that product. That was, to be honest with you, that was the very first herbal hour I ever taught. I took the product ALJ. Some of you might know a book by Louise Tenney called Today's Herbal Health. It's still in print. I'm sure you could go online and probably order it in. And all I did was look up every single herb that was in there, and then I spoke on it at the, herbal hour. I read out of the book, guys, for this first herbal hour, and I found out what was in this product. You got things like mullein in there. You got things like fenugreek. You've got bone set in there, and I found out that bone set, it said, helps with break bone fever. So I take it even if I have the aches and pains. This is a phenomenal product. Helps to kind of get things draining out of the sinuses and helps you to get it up and out. Sometimes when that mucus gets thick and, you can literally choke on it. I got a call just last night. One of my gals back in Colorado, she said she had to have her son as an emergency pullover. She had gotten sick, had so much mucus, and it was so thick, she was literally choking to death. She thought she couldn't get her breath. And this went on, she said, for 10 minutes. She said, pull over. And now he pulled into a gas station, pushed a $5 bill on the counter, grabbed the bottle of water, said, I'll be back for my change, ran it out to his mother, and that kind of helped to stop her from choking. But she, when she called me, I said, get this ALJ, thin it out, because it was so thick. As her body's ridding of toxins and poisons, she literally couldn't catch her breath. Guys, I love this. This, to me, ALJ was one of those products also that it's very endeared to me, because as a young mother, I used to be afraid of what this thick mucus might do to my babies. And it comes in a liquid. I love that I can give that to children. It's one of those for kids too products, and yet we can take it as capsules as adult. Kind of helps rebuild the lungs, thin out the mucus, and rid it from the body, and yet it can help the body with allergies as well. Histoblock works because it has antihistamine properties, and I could give you, one of the best stories I could give you was, it actually comes from a gal that was training me, and so she gave me her story. She had a gal that had went traveling, forgot to take her EpiPen, and she got stung by a bee, and she had severe bee allergies. But she happened to have Histoblock. She called this gal, and the gal said, do you have Histoblock? She said, yes. She said, I want you to take, she did tell her to, yes, get to the hospital, get on the way, right? But guys, how many people don't make it, as you're looking at that? So she said, what I want you to do is take these 20 Histoblock. You know what? She got halfway there, and she turned around. It stopped the reaction. Histoblock worked, guys, but she took a high dose, and that reversed that. Now, hitting directly in to that structural system. Wow, and I heard that Rancha talked about our Everflex. We have it in a cream and a tablet. Everflex, it's got glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, Devil's Claw, all in a bottle. And as you're looking at that, guys, you can rub this cream on and get immediate relief using this product. Take the Everflex. Remember, glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, and Devil's Claw all in one. So really, if you were to break those down, it literally can go in. We know that the glucosamine and chondroitin can go in and help repair that cartilage, right? Devil's Claw, one of the best natural herbs for pain relief, and historically it's been shown that it can fight pain. So as you're looking at that, that's a good one to help repair and fight inflammation. Of course, I put magnesium on here as well, and we know that magnesium is easily depleted under times of inflammation, right? Times of stress. As you're looking at that, but we also know that we need twice the amount of magnesium next to calcium, and it doesn't hurt to have higher amounts of magnesium as you look at it. I don't know if you're aware of this, but magnesium helps you to actually produce enzymes as you're looking at that. And it also works to help keep the muscles more relaxed. And since we deplete that under times of stress, that could really be something that we want to have in our repertoire. So those are a couple direct hits at two types of inflammation. But let's go in here and wrap this up. I kind of wanted to make it simple, so I wanted a really clear picture for you on how to wrap this up. I wanted to give you a 3-month program. So as you're looking at this, it should be really easy to kind of, go through this program. So if you're here and you're saying, Julie, I have a lot of inflammation, and my goal is, maybe you or someone you know has been on medication for this. I'm not telling you to stop your medication, but I'm hoping as you go in and do good things to your body that one day you could just say, you could call your doctor and say, I no longer need that. My inflammation disappeared as I put in right behavior. So let's start with this. First of all, balance the gut through cleansing. Right? So I put some good cleansing in here, and I'll go into this in detail. Introduce good bacteria back into your diet, right? How about some plant-based enzymes? And avoid common foods that cause inflammation. So let's break this down more specifically. So month 1, what I want you to do, just for 3 weeks, guys, remember, I don't want to marry any of you, but give me 3 good weeks. We can do anything for 3 weeks. If you want, do it as a type of prayer and fasting. I often do things like that because I think that that's a good behavior, right? So as you do that, do it there. If you want to add a spiritual side to that, that can always be good for people. But 3 weeks. Can you discipline for 3 weeks? Say, yes, Julie, that's what I want to hear. And being I can't hear you all, I'm going to imagine every one of you saying, you know what, Julie, I can do this for 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks, avoid dairy. Can you do that? Yeah. Get Fat Girl Foods on a healthy budget and find out how to make cream from cashews. Oh, yeah, I can do this, Julie, right? I could literally make a cream that I could put on my food, and I would never miss dairy another day in my life, okay? So as you're looking at that, avoid eggs, and more specifically the egg yolk. I find that people are able to get away with the egg white, and you can kind of test that, but only for a period of time. Remember, I didn't say eggs were bad. I just said they're one of the common foods that cause an allergy and thus an inflammation. Because remember, anything that you have an allergic response or an intolerance to causes inflammation. I want you to really think on that. I'll repeat what I just said. So anything that you have an allergy or an intolerance, what are we talking about? Does it make you gassy? Does it produce extra mucus in you? Does it bloat you? If it does, I want you to remove it for just a period of time. Remember, it may not be something you do for life, and I would prefer that it not, but I would prefer you to remove it for a period of time, and I'll show you how to introduce it back in. So avoid dairy, eggs, gluten, yeast, corn, and peanuts. So, and more specifically on the corn, one other thing I found out again is the non-organic corn seems to be really the problem. I found that sprouted corn seems to be a little bit more friendly, and even the organic. So test that out, see how you do with that. And by the way, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a peanut that's literally soaked. We call that sprouted. And then it's dehydrated, and they call it the peanut that becomes like an almond. So it becomes more friendly, because the problem is the way peanuts are actually a legume. And the way that we consume them, that seems to be part of the unfriendly. So you could, again, test that out. But I think if I was to test it out, I would add it back in later, as I'm going to show you in month number 2, okay? So we're going to cleanse, month number 1, we're going to cleanse with the Tile Heat Cleanse, which is a wood reducing. What does that mean? Wood does what? It feeds fire, or it feeds inflammation. So if you want to get that down, you want to reduce some of that wood. We're going to take a Tile Heat Cleanse with psyllium hulls or slippery elm, and that's going to help us to bulk this cleanse so it's not so hard on the gut, right? We get too many people saying, oh, I've got cramps or diarrhea. I don't want to see that. I want to slow this down and make it effective. I want to really bulk it back out and clean the side walls of the intestines. We're going to add 1 probiotic 11 4 times a day. So with each meal and then before bed. So what's it doing? It's helping us fight inflammation because we're going to digest better. And then we're going to take 1 before bed so we can repopulate our intestinal flora. We're going to take 1 papaya mint 3 times a day. Oh, isn't that fun? I get candy, right? Papaya mints 3 times a day, helping me to digest. You know, papaya helps us even to digest proteins. And then we know the papaya mint itself is anti-inflammatory. Okay, we're going to add 1 shot, a full shot glass of mineral chi tonic in the morning. And this, again, is something my husband and I do for each other. Guys, it's going to, literally, if you have a mineral tester, this mineral chi tonic will light a light bulb. If you're not sure where to get that, email me. I now have access to mineral testers, which could be really fun because you can plug it into the mineral chi and then it will light the light bulb. Show people how true the integrity of our product is, okay? So a shot of mineral chi tonic in the morning, it's going to get the metabolism going, it's going to get the brain going, and man, it's going to give us those alkalizing minerals. 2 shakes a day, we discussed that using this, your Smart Meal or NutriBurn, and a minimum of 3 servings of phytonutrients in each one of those, and then a shot of this ambrosia each morning. Then add in the joint supporting products and allergy products or stress formula as needed. So as we're looking in that, okay? Month 2, begin adding back in 1 of the avoided foods each week to identify any that cause inflammation. So only add 1 in each week, right? So if you got rid of, you know, eggs per se, add that back in. See how you do for that week. Then next week, add back in the dairy. Don't add it all back in, or you're not going to know which one causes the inflammation. What are you going to notice? Well, where is your inflammation? But obviously, if you have bloating and gassiness and you can't seem to go to the bathroom as well, you're going to know you need to pull that one back out for a period of time, right? I want you to go ahead and cleanse with the Candida Clear this month and add in the marshmallow pepsin, if you would, okay, with that, and begin to get this small intestine working better. Continue the probiotic 11, the papaya, the mineral chi, your shakes, and your supporting products. That's month number 2. Month number 3, we're going to cleanse with herbal pumpkin and marshmallow pepsin. Guys, what are we getting after? What have we done here? We've cleared the gut, right? So now the bowel's open. Then we started working with yeast overgrowth. Now we're on to what? We're talking about parasites, right? Because herbal pumpkin is known for its work with that. And then marshmallow pepsin helps us with the pepsin to eat up some of those undigested proteins. And then marshmallow, we know, is a mucilagenic. It's cleansing. It's going to help us even to remove some of that built up of mucus in the body. Continue with your probiotics. Continue with your papaya. Continue with your mineral chi. Continue with your shakes. And continue with your supporting products as needed. Guys, after that, you can alternate if you want, add in some kidney products and continue, right? You could replace your cleansing with some of your kidney cleansers. You could come back and add in, you know, other products that might work with, you know, the parasites. You have a paracleanse. So, guys, you can continue to rotate this out to keep your body ridding of toxins and poisons, and the rest is a good supporting program for the inflammation. So let's wrap this up, okay? As we, you know, keep in body that your body needs 7 to 8 hours of restful sleep. Is that important to having the right mindset? Absolutely, I know it is. So let's really work on that. And remember, if you're like me, you always stay up trying to be more productive. You're not any more productive. Guys, go to bed, get up bright and shining, and you'll be more productive. How many times have I tried to work on something late at night and found out I, you know, just put the thing to bed, get up earlier in the morning, you're better off, and you'll be more productive all the way around. And remember, you're going to need that the body needs that good mindset. And then I've given you a good picture of everything that we've talked about here. Guys, do this. We'll have less inflammation and we'll be more productive. Thank you so much for having me on this. And with that, Rancha, I'm going to turn it back to you to close.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. A lot of great information. We've only got literally 2 minutes left here, so if anybody has any questions for Julie, you can type them into the question area, and we can respond. So if you have anything at this point, you can do that. Again, this is taped, and it will be posted on the website, so no worries about that. All the information will be there as well as the PowerPoint. But again, thank you so much, Julie. That was a wealth of information. And what's your website, Julie, just so they have it so they can go check out your material?
Okay, yeah, because I actually have some pre-recorded calls that are free. And remember, if you refer anybody there, just give them your information, because my goal is to build you up. I do that for free because I'm called to teach. It's www.natureopath.net, natureopath.net, and I've left the E on nature, so it's natureopath.net. Go there, and I have pre-recorded half-hour conference calls on many subjects, guys, and I am so anxious to share them with all of you. I love you guys out there, and I thank you again for allowing me to be part of this.
Okay, well, we have a question for you, Julie. It says, do you find the super omegas help with allergies, and why is it that omega-3s help?
I absolutely find that omega-3s would help, right, because omega-3s help with inflammation. We all know that our omega-3s are anti-inflammatory in action, and the body isn't selective with where they are. And remember, allergies are inflammation that's gotten into the respiratory system. Yes, thank you.
Great question. Wonderful. Okay. Well, I think that's it for right now. So thank you again so much, Julie. It was wonderful to have you. Canada loves you. And hopefully we'll be seeing you soon. Again, thanks, everyone, for taking the time here to be with us tonight. This will be posted on the website in a few days. Make sure you're checking out the website for important information surrounding the specials that we have going on. So have a great evening, everyone. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
And thank you. Good night.
Good night.